we figure into that?
Well, I think it's based on what we were talking about this morning about the dispersion, and going into these different areas. Um, you know, after leaving Jerusalem and things like that. Over a period of time, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about. What Dr. Holly was talking about, and I think the question came about how did we, get here? How did we get there? And what was called from the transatlantic slave trade and all that. And it fits right back into Deuteronomy 28 and I think 46, and just talks about a sign being upon you. And let me see here. Let me see if I got it here. It says, they shall be a sign and a wonder against you and your offspring forever. So with that being said, is we're talking about a perpetual thing that not just applies to the transatlantic slave trade. And I know we want to, make it seem like we're the most important, Israelites here in America. But, in the scope of all of this, Spain and Portugal, even in the Iberian Peninsula, all these different areas that shows up on our DNA markers of where we've been dispersed and where we are. It plays a huge role, because if you don't go, if most of us, if we did come from the Spain and Portugal region, there wouldn't be many of us if we didn't get into the Spain and Portugal region. It wouldn't be important. So it's a part of the scattering abroad, being in that region, and whoever came from those descendants, they end up going through their thing within their area. If you were in Rome, you went through your situation in your area. So everyone, I think, at some point in time, there was some form of persecution or some form of difference. Now, I really want to be careful here, because I want us to really understand that by this time, color and race is still not a construct of design in the sense of where we view it in the Western sense. Jojo, no. In the Western sense of black, white, or other. It's still based upon bloodline, because you still had people that were not necessarily dark as me and you that was still considered amongst our nation of people. Mm-hmm. So we have to be careful with, and I'm not saying any of us doing this, but just to those that are listening, into thinking that everyone was as dark as us in the Spanish Inquisition, and therefore they had to be non-Israelites because they were not as dark as us. Because again, the black and white thing, that's a more modern construct than we have an American idea versus a antiquity idea. Right. And so, that's that. I don't know if there's another deeper question or anything like that.
Well, let me pause you there, because I think that you're onto something really strong there, Dr. Brown. Let me just say it simply, and then we can talk about it. So if we want to talk about the original prejudice or the original discrimination or the original hatred or any of those words, it was based on religion. In other words, all of those this is kind of a question. That those original persecutions were religiously based, and if the race wasn't a factor at all at that point. So did it then kind of morph into, in other words, if a lot of Jews ended up in Africa, because Africa was the cradle of civilization, and then the other people were there as well, Gentiles were there as well, all kinds of people, no vast differences in color. Did that original discrimination against religion then just kind of grow into racial discrimination because so many of them were African? I mean, that's just a question. I'm not making a statement.
Yeah, no. I like to use the term more of national separation versus racial, because even us talking about it, it's still hard to understand the difference between nationality disparity, nationality, and race.
Right.
Then it was more so based upon nation. Like, for example, today, and I'll just try to use the best as I can, Russia does not attack America because they're white.
Right.
Okay, that's right. It's just two different nations.
Right, because in our idea, Russians are white too. Right?
Correct.
So they attack America because of the nation it is versus the quote unquote race that it is. No different than the Israelites dealing with Canaanites or dealing with Hivites or Hittites. It's based upon the race now, or based upon the nationality of the people. Now, of course, how do you determine what nationality these people are if in antiquity these people are the same color?
Right.
Well, you determine that based upon practice, cultural practice. And I want the audience to understand that your religion was not in the sense you didn't separate that from your nationality in that day. Like now we separate religion from all of that. No, back then religion was, here's your religion. The way you grow your food is also a part of your culture, identity, and nationality, which someone today would say you're religious. The things that you eat will be based upon your culture, nationality, and your nation and what they do versus a religion. We view dietary religiously. That's not the original intent of the scriptures in the nation of Israel. We view marriage in a sense of nationality. This is how we do things. This is why in the Bible the Lord tells us, don't do as the Canaanites do. Don't be like them. Don't be like these people. Why? Because what happens is you take on their nationality and practice, and now everybody's looking at you and confused because they're looking at you as a Canaanite or a Hivite or a Jebusite when you acting and saying that you're an Israelite. So
Right.
these are the things that within those times, even during the time of the Inquisition, people could be identified based upon their practices. Yes, garments and things too is an identifier, but it was also an identifier in the scriptures too, based upon identifying what one wears to say, okay, this person is an Israelite, but it's not from a religious perspective in wearing fringes and someone said, oh, you're trying to keep the law. Well, today we see that and we talk about that. Back then it was no, I'm an Israelite, so based upon my nationality, I wear fringes because that's our national custom.
Exactly.
You have to really get an understanding of that and peel back the layers from the religious mind and really understand that this is a nationality versus a race. A race says, I don't like you because of your color. A nationality says, I don't like you because of who you connected to and where you're birthed from and how your tribe move. Not because you white, yellow, black, green, or purple. Okay?
Yeah.
All right.